notice in front of you a PEZ candy, and that's a prop for my speech tonight. And I'm going to hand out one of these PEZ dispensers for each row of tables here, and if you can kind of take a look at it and pass it down. Kathy Yonke told me that everybody should know what PEZ is. And I don't believe it myself, but okay. PEZ was a candy invented in 1927 in Austria to be an alternative to smoking. And now PEZ is an acronym for a technique to evaluate speeches. And at my old Milwaukee Cream City Communicators Club, our VP of Education, Kathy Shine, introduced us to this technique. And a distinguished Toastmaster introduced her to this technique. So I'm going to pass this on to you, especially to the speech crafters tonight, and to those Toastmasters who were not at our last meeting. And sorry, Morgan, that you have to sit through this again. But enjoy the PEZ. So as an acronym, what does PEZ stand for? Well, originally it stand for pfefferminz, which is German for peppermint. But for our purposes, it stands for, the P is for the personal connection that the speaker makes to you. E stands for the effectiveness of the speech. And Z stands for zone. Think of Jordy Nelson catching that great pass in the end zone for Mr. Rogers. That's when you're in the zone, right? So that's when the speaker is at his best. So in this technique of evaluating speeches, you subdivide the evaluation into 3 parts. In the first part of the speech, you're addressing the emotional content of the speech. You're addressing the personal connection that the speaker made to you or to the audience. It's really your choice as the evaluator. And in the second part of the evaluation, you give your constructive feedback or your constructive criticism. That's the E for effectiveness. And in the third part, you identify what the speaker really did. The wonderful things the speaker did when they were in the zone. For example, I once gave a speech on Confucius. And I nominated Confucius as the patron saint of Toastmasters. And my evaluator said, you could have just given a speech about Confucius, but no, you gave a speech to Toastmasters about how Confucianism relates to Toastmasters. And you helped explain how important these rituals that we use in Toastmasters are and how they relate back to the importance of ritual that Confucius taught and how important it really is to society. Another evaluator took me to task because I lost my place in my speech. I started floundering around, and then I apologized to the audience for losing my train of thought. And the evaluator said, it's good to pause every once in a while. And you are going to lose your train of thought when you're a speaker. But don't mention it to your audience. Just refocus, get back on track, refer to some notes if you need to, and get back to business. So apologizing for losing your train of thought is a little bit like the ums and the ahs that we use when we lose our train of thought and wonder what to say next. Okay, so we've described the personal connection that we've made to the speaker, or the speaker's made to us. We've given some constructive feedback. We may have said, use more hand gestures, maybe less. Be sure to use eye contact. And maybe if you use vocal variety to engage your audience. And then in the final 30 seconds of your 1 to 2 minute evaluation, you're going to give your speaker their 30-second highlight reel of the wonderful moments in their speech. So you want to begin on a positive note, that personal connection. Then you're going to go to your constructive criticism and feedback. But then you're going to end on a positive note. And the Reedsburg Club has another word or term for this technique. It's called the sandwich technique. That's where you sandwich the criticism between the fluff, or between you want to start out positive, then you're going to be critical. Constructive criticism is much better than destructive criticism. And then finally, zone when your quarterback and your receiver were in the zone. As a speaker, you threw that perfect pass, and your audience caught it in the end zone. And there was a touchdown, and you did go to the Super Bowl. That's the PEZ technique. And the reason I pass these dispensers around and these candies around is so that you will remember the acronym. And you can use it in your future as a speech crafter or as a Toastmaster or out in the general audience of the world to frame your evaluation of speeches.